The Galactic Armament Summit was one of the most anticipated events in the universe. Each year, the most advanced species gathered under one colossal dome to showcase their military achievements, technologies that symbolized power, progress, and, often, unspoken threats. For the thousands of dignitaries, warlords, and scientists in attendance, it wasn't just an expo. It was an arena where dominance was demonstrated without a single shot being fired. Among the crowd, humanity stood out for all the wrong reasons. Nestled in an insignificant corner of the galaxy, humans were a new and minor presence in interstellar politics. Many considered their invitation to the summit an act of pity or bureaucratic oversight. Unlike the sleek, enigmatic aliens with shimmering robes or advanced exoskeletons, the humans wore functional, unadorned uniforms. Their demeanor was somber, as if they had nothing to prove. And, to the majority of the crowd, they didn't. The early part of the event was a parade of marvels. The Zendarian coalition presented their gravitic nullifier, a weapon capable of folding space-time itself to crush entire fleets. The Syrax delegation unveiled their quantum phase dissipator, a beam that phased through matter to strike vital systems. Each presentation was met with thunderous applause. These weapons were more than machines. They were symphonies of precision, art forged with technology. When humanity's turn came, the atmosphere shifted. The host's voice announced, representing Earth, Captain Elias Carter and the Terran Defense Initiative. Polite applause followed, though it lacked the enthusiasm of the earlier receptions. On stage, Captain Carter, a man of average height but a commanding presence, approached the center. Behind him, a group of soldiers wheeled out a massive, archaic-looking device on a heavy-duty platform. It resembled an industrial machine more than a weapon. Whispers spread like wildfire through the auditorium. Some alien delegates snickered. Others whispered openly. The Zendarian envoy sneered. "It's a metal corpse from the age of combustion. Are humans here to showcase history?" Another delegate, a crystalline Syrax, chimed in. "Perhaps it's a cultural relic. We must respect their quaint traditions." Captain Carter remained expressionless. Standing beside the weapon, he began without preamble. "Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates, I present to you the HX-94 Rotary Cannon. Its function is simple: to fire 4,000 kinetic rounds per minute with sustained accuracy and devastating impact." There was a pause, followed by laughter. Not the amused kind, but a cruel, derisive one. A correction technician's emerald scales glittered as they chuckled. "Physical projectiles? How charming. What will they show us next? Flint arrows?" The laughter crescendoed until Carter raised a hand. The subtle authority in the gesture silenced the room. "This," he said, placing his hand on the weapon's casing, "may look crude to you. And it is. But let me assure you, it is not here for aesthetics." The lights dimmed. A line of targets appeared downrange. Plates of armor, shimmering energy shields, and holographic projections representing enemy forces. The room buzzed with curiosity as the cannon's motor hummed to life. A low, mechanical growl echoed, growing into an ominous roar as the barrels began to spin. And then it fired. Deafening roar erupted, not in bursts but in a relentless cascade of sound and fury. BRRRT. The weapon's roar wasn't merely loud. It was visceral. The first targets, slabs of advanced alloy designed to withstand plasma weaponry, disintegrated almost instantly. The kinetic rounds tore through them as if they were made of glass. Sparks and molten shards flew in every direction, the sheer force overwhelming the structural integrity of the material. Gasps replaced laughter. Delegates who had mocked the weapon's simplicity moments earlier now leaned forward, eyes wide. The cannon moved to its next challenge, an energy shield, the pride of the Syrax, designed to deflect even the most advanced plasma weapons. The barrage struck, and at first, the shield held, glowing under the strain. But as the unrelenting hail of projectiles continued, the shield flickered, then shattered in a cascade of sparks and energy. "Impossible," muttered a Zendarian engineer. "That volume of fire shouldn't breach an energy shield." Captain Carter's voice cut through the chaos. The HX-94 doesn't concern itself with precision. It overwhelms. It doesn't adapt to shields. It destroys them through sheer persistence. The final challenge was a cluster of mobile holographic drones, simulating evasive maneuvers. The rotary cannon adjusted its aim seamlessly, the spinning barrels spewing death in controlled arcs. The drone's agility was meaningless against the cannon's sheer rate of fire. They vanished in bursts of light, one after another, until none remained. When the cannon fell silent, the echoes of its roar lingered. Smoke hung in the air, a ghostly reminder of the devastation it had wrought. The stage, once a pristine platform, was now littered with fragments of obliterated targets. The audience sat in stunned silence. No applause, no laughter, only an unsettling, collective realization of what they had witnessed. Finally, a VYRNN warrior broke the silence. Towering and armored, the alien's deep voice rumbled. "This weapon doesn't conquer. It annihilates. It leaves nothing but silence in its wake." The Syrax delegate, still staring at the wreckage, murmured, "Barbaric, and yet brilliant. It ignores sophistication and demands respect through pure force." Captain Carter let their words hang for a moment before he spoke again. "Humanity doesn't build weapons for elegance or diplomacy. We build them for survival, for when there's no other option but to win." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the audience. "This is not just a weapon. It's a promise. A promise that if we are pushed to fight, the fight will end swiftly and decisively." As he stepped back, the auditorium remained silent. The other delegations, with their advanced technology and calculated strategies, were confronted with a chilling truth. Humanity had brought a weapon that defied their understanding of warfare. It wasn't about precision or elegance. It was about dominance, a force so overwhelming that even the most advanced civilizations found themselves questioning their own arsenals. For the first time, the galaxy recognized humanity not as an afterthought but as a force to be reckoned with, a force that fought with the unyielding determination to survive, no matter the cost. The aftermath of the summit was a turning point not only for humanity but for the entire galaxy. The diplomatic landscape, once dominated by a handful of ancient civilizations with centuries of superiority, was now forever altered. It was clear that the Terran Defense Initiative had made its presence known, and the repercussions of this would echo across the stars. For Captain Elias Carter, the victory was bittersweet. The admiration and wariness from the galactic leaders were evident, but he knew this moment was fleeting. As powerful as the HX-94 Rotary Cannon was, it was only one weapon, one piece of humanity's growing military presence in the galaxy. The challenge was to prove that humanity was not a one-off anomaly but a force that could adapt and evolve alongside the other species. In the months following the summit, Carter's life was consumed by the implications of what had transpired. Military councils met across Earth, evaluating the next steps in humanity's galactic military strategy. With the other species undoubtedly working on countermeasures, there could be no room for complacency. The Terran Defense Initiative had to remain several steps ahead to ensure humanity's survival and to retain the respect it had so hard won. One of the first areas of focus was improving the HX-94 itself. As Carter had anticipated, the Zendari and Syrax were already working on advanced defenses against kinetic weaponry. Their response would not take long, and humanity's raw approach to war would soon need to be augmented with new tactics and weapons to maintain its edge. Captain Carter returned to Earth to oversee the redesign of the HX-94. His team, now expanded and bolstered by the excitement of the summit's success, worked tirelessly. Their task was not just to increase the cannon's power, but to make it more adaptable, more effective against the advanced energy shields, phase barriers, and countermeasures that the galaxy's other species had perfected. There was no room for hesitation. The stakes were too high. The new design of the HX-94 HX-94 was a fusion of human ingenuity and the knowledge gathered from observing other civilizations' weapons. The cannon was given greater maneuverability, allowing it to target moving objects with greater precision. It was also made more versatile, capable of switching between solid metal slugs and kinetic energy pulses, allowing for adaptability against both physical and energy-based defenses. The barrels were reinforced with a new alloy, making them more resilient to wear and tear. Carter's efforts, however, were not limited to improving a single weapon. He began collaborating with engineers and military strategists to develop a broader range of technologies. The goal was to ensure that humanity could hold its own in every aspect of warfare, not just with brute force, but with tactical sophistication and technological advancement. Humanity would no longer be seen as the new kids on the block, no longer the scrappy underdog fighting against the established powers. It was time to prove that humanity could evolve alongside the galaxy's greatest civilizations. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the response to humanity's show of strength was swift. The Seracs, embarrassed by their energy shield's failure, began refining their quantum phase dissipators, ensuring that their shields could now withstand kinetic impacts. They even began researching hybrid shields that could adapt to a wider range of attacks, including the new energy pulses humanity's cannon could fire. The Zendari, on the other hand, turned their attention to gravitational manipulation technology, developing weapons that could neutralize kinetic weaponry by distorting gravitational fields. The VYRNN, ever the pragmatists, saw the potential threat in humanity's raw power, but also recognized the limits of such a strategy. They began building new offensive systems capable of taking out humanity's cannon at long range, and they increased the speed and maneuverability of their fleet ships, knowing that the Terran weapon, though devastating at close range, had limitations when it came to long-range engagements. Captain Carter was well aware of these developments. There were no illusions. Humanity was now engaged in a race, not just to keep up with the galaxy's greatest powers, but to surpass them. The Terran Defense Initiative would have to fight harder, innovate faster, and anticipate every countermeasure the galaxy's most advanced species could devise. The tensions continued to mount, and as each species prepared for what seemed to be an inevitable confrontation, Carter knew that there was more to warfare than just weapons. The human race would have to prove that it could not only fight but endure. The galaxy's leaders had been impressed by the brute force of the HX-94, but now humanity would need to show that it could also think beyond the battlefield. Months passed, and as the various galactic powers worked furiously on their own advancements, Captain Carter led the charge for humanity to develop new strategies. The war was not just about firepower. It was about logistics, intelligence, and the ability to adapt to rapidly changing circumstances. For the first time in history, the galaxy's greatest minds were forced to acknowledge a simple truth. Humanity was a serious contender for galactic dominance. It wasn't long before the first test of humanity's resolve came. The Corrections, long known for their brutal tactics and overwhelming numbers, launched a surprise attack on the Terran colonies in the Outer Rim. They believed that humanity's military might, still in its infancy, could be easily overpowered. It was the perfect test, a test of whether the galaxy's greatest powers could push humanity back to the fringes of the universe, where it had once been. But humanity was ready. Carter had been preparing for such an eventuality. The Correction attack was swiftly repelled, with the Terran Defense Initiative mobilizing its forces with surprising efficiency. The HX-94, now part of a much larger array of weaponry, turned the tide. The cannon was no longer an isolated threat. It was part of a coordinated defense strategy that combined the firepower of the HX-94 with newly developed drones, automated battle tactics, and advanced communication systems. The Correction forces, though numerous and fierce, were overwhelmed. The victory over the Corrections was a pivotal moment. It sent a clear message to the galaxy that humanity had not only survived but had thrived in the face of overwhelming odds. The Terran Defense Initiative had proven its ability to defend its colonies and to adapt quickly to emerging threats. The shockwaves from the battle reverberated throughout the galaxy, and soon, other powers took notice. For the first time, humanity was no longer on the defensive. The correction defeat, combined with the success of the HX-94 at the summit, elevated Earth to the ranks of the galaxy's most formidable powers. Yet this victory was bittersweet. As the corrections withdrew, humiliated and regrouping, Captain Carter knew that the galaxy would not sit idly by. They would come for humanity, just as they had come for every rising power before. Humanity, however, had learned a valuable lesson from the summit and from the correction skirmish. In this galaxy, survival was not just about being the strongest. It was about being the most unpredictable, the most relentless, and the most determined. Earth had no choice but to continue evolving, continuing to develop new strategies, weapons, and defenses. In the following months, humanity's standing in the galaxy continued to rise. The Terran Defense Initiative, bolstered by new alliances with smaller, neutral species that had been impressed by Earth's resilience, began to expand its influence. Slowly, other powers recognized the need for diplomacy with humanity, seeking to avoid conflict with the rising force. Humanity had earned its place, not through grace, not through strategy, but through an unyielding commitment to survival. The question, however, was not whether humanity would survive. The question was how humanity would shape the future of the galaxy. As the stars looked down on Earth, Captain Elias Carter knew one thing for certain. Humanity would write its own future, and it would do so with strength, ingenuity, and the unwavering will to survive. The Terran Defense Initiative had not only proven that humanity could survive in the stars, it had shown the galaxy that humanity could thrive. And no matter the challenges ahead, humanity would always rise, for the universe had learned that one undeniable truth: humanity was here to stay.